I was going to ask you, Tartt got released by the Eagles. What do you think about that? You think there's a phone call made?
I think there has to be some sort of conversation, right? It's just obvious to me when I'm looking at the safeties, Hufanga, Moore, Jimmy Ward, of course, and George Odom. With Ward being out the first 4 weeks, so the first month, that would open up a roster spot right there. So remember we talked about he has to be in the 53 first, and then they put him on IR. So that would be, he'd be out for the first 4 weeks. I think it's like super obvious, don't you think? Like bring him in. He'll be able, maybe he doesn't start right away. Maybe give him 2 weeks. But hey, he was in camp. It's not like he's been sitting around. He was in the camp with the Eagles, so it's not like he's not ready.
Yeah.
And then he's been here forever. Like this is home.
Yeah, he should, in theory, he should be in football shape. You should be able to sign him for basically kind of next to nothing, right? Or very little. And obviously, you have the cap money from the restructure of Jimmy, so you have a little bit extra money, right? Maybe do a little extra bonus out of him, whatever. If there was hard feelings from before, right? You sue those, and then I think that allows you to. I don't know about more. Like more kind of scares me, which is crazy because he's
A
like
lot.
uber athletic, but that dude gets beat a lot for somebody who has like what's he like 4.4 speeders. Like I mean, the dude's like uber athletic, but he just gets beat. Like I feel like he gets beat a lot for somebody as athletic. Like bro, how you keep letting people run past you? Like that's like the one
Right.
that I told you not to do. Um, Allows him to maybe go back to that backup role. Like maybe you start with Hufunga and Tart as your safeties, and maybe like you can rotate more and maybe owe them a little bit. But I think it just makes like it makes too much sense, which is probably why it won't happen because it makes too much sense, right? Like it just like yeah, like it just this makes all
Yeah.
the sense in the world. Like you got the money, he needs a job, he knows the system. I can't imagine he doesn't remember the system. All of his buddies, like I, I
I
just
mean, you don't think Ward and Tar are just having a conversation like through text message, like, "Hey, bro, just make that call."
yeah, come on back. Like I said, if there were some hard feelings about letting them go, like again, you redid Jimmy's deal, so you can throw him a little extra scratch, right? Like, hey, we know like maybe you were, you know, maybe a little pissed that we kind of let you go or whatever. We didn't offer you a huge contract, so here's a little extra,
Right.
pat those tears with these hundreds, and we're good, right?
Right.
Um, I it just like I said, it just makes too much sense. It's a need. He knows the system. Like I just
Yeah, unless somebody just like overpays for them for whatever reason, uh,
yeah, I can see
or
yeah,
claims
that's
them.
possible, but
Right.
man, I just yeah, it makes too much sense. I hope he goes back. I think that's such a perfect opportunity. Um,
Yeah,
to
it'll be the you know the signings of redemption with like Jimmy and Tart coming back. It'll just bring it full circle. Like, oh, JK guys, let's just reload and then you
we're
know
running it back, right?
run it back, baby.
Like they tried to do after the Super Bowl, right? Like we're just gonna run it back with everybody, and it didn't work out as well. But it's like I feel like that's like part two. Like okay, we're gonna exactly. It makes sense, unless he's just that pissed off at the franchise. I just don't know how. I won't why when I heard that he had been cut because the Eagles had given him a pretty good bonus, like 500K or something, which is pretty large. So then turn and cut him.
Yeah.
I had thought they had. I I thought for sure, like 5 minutes later, I was going to get another alert saying, Niners reached deal with Tart. Like,
Right.
I'm like, man, like you know, this has got to be happening. And still haven't heard anything, so I'm surprised. But maybe they're having some conversations on the side.
Yeah, I'm curious why they didn't decide to re-sign him. Um, just because like you look at Tarvarius Moore, maybe they're thinking high of Moore, but I didn't really see much in preseason. Then again, like I didn't see much of Trey Sermon, but here we are, right? So
True.
I'm just like, maybe like in practice he looks phenomenal, and then something happens in game day, like something we're not seeing. Um, or
Yeah.
maybe they like the signing of George Odom. Maybe they went the cheaper route, but I don't know, man. It just seems like you said, it makes too much sense to the point where it scares me. Where like it's not gonna happen, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm saying. It makes so much sense it won't happen. Like, and it's perfect. You sign him on 1 year deal, perfect, and then he can go re-enter free agency, or look, maybe you sign him for a couple years. I don't know. I mean, he's kind of getting up there, but I think this is the perfect 1 year, perfect just 1 year signing. Like this is perfect right here.
because another thing I have to think is like, why did he get cut to begin with? Was it maybe a scheme fit? Something wasn't
Yeah, my mind
wrong.
was they were going with more of the younger players. Was my why I read the word on the street, whatever have you, was that they were really trying to go with the younger players. So it wasn't that he wasn't a fit, just he probably just wasn't going to start. And I think they
Gotcha.
like, hey, give up the roster spot, and maybe also to just help him, like, hey, this is an opportunity to maybe go back to San Francisco or go somewhere else. And I think kind of like the Niners did with Kandichi, who looked good, and they kind of cut him early. I think to give him an opportunity, like, hey, like you showed out with us a little bit, so we'll cut you early enough in this where you might have a chance somewhere else, like to kind of do the solid. So
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was that, like, hey, this will give you a chance to, instead of waiting until, you know, later, or keep him on, like, add him to the 53, but like, hey, you're not really going to play much. Like, hey, this is your chance to go somewhere, maybe, maybe go play. So, or maybe he asked, maybe say, hey, why don't you, if I'm not going to start, like, just, cut me and let me go try to find a team I can actually play on. So,
Right. Man, but imagine if we get Tart. Like, where is the weakness on this defense? Like,
I don't think there. I mean, knock on wood, outside injuries. Yeah, there really isn't. I mean, you are all three levels. You're once, especially once Ward comes back. I mean, all three levels is just, I guess, four levels. I guess if you count the safeties as a separate level, but you are just every part of it. It's just like, wow, you have all pros, Pro Bowlers, potential Pro Bowlers, all pros, like every level. It's probably the most complete defense start to finish. Like, if you just
yeah,
go through the 11s, like this is the most complete defense, by far. Where there really isn't a hole. It's like, man, like even their worst is still like, Tartt's still a pretty damn good safety if they got Tartt, right? Like he's still a pretty good safety. He's not great. He's not like, I'm not saying, give him a bust in Canton, but still pretty damn good, right? Like if
right.
Tartt's your weakest person, you're doing pretty good on defense. If
Yeah,
that's
you're
one
doing
person,
pretty damn good.
yeah, that's
And now's the question, like, even if you bring him in, like, I think Hufanga has earned his like starting position, right? So it's not like even once he gets his, you know, uh his legs up under him, like hypothetically speaking, if they sign him,
right.
um, it'll be hard for him to get back to that role, right? Where he would play the backup. So it'd be a mirror image of the Jimmy Garoppolo experience.
Yeah, which maybe that's why he hasn't. Maybe that's why maybe they made that call, and maybe to your point, they said, "Look, we're gonna roll with Hufunga," and maybe he's like, "If I'm not starting, I'm not coming." So that might have been they might have had that conversation. Maybe he just straight up,
Yeah,
I want to start. And I'm like, well, that ain't happening. So he's like, all right, deuces. So that might explain it right there. Honestly, like,
which would be unfortunate because I don't really see him signing with the team and being a starter, you know?
outside of an injury, like he'd be banking on an injury, right? Like
Yeah,
he just
exactly.
solely be banking that somebody would lose their safety, and then also want him to come in, right? Because then that team has to say, okay, you're better than our backup, or you fit our scheme because they have someone who's been with them through camp and all that. who in theory would take that person's place if they got hurt. So like you're banking on not only someone getting hurt, but then somebody, that team also saying, hey, you're better than our backup who's been with us, the whole off season camp preseason.
Right.